Won't believe how much money people lose on their properties when a tenant sabotages a home sale. I've got 5 ways that tenants do this. Number 1, they deny access. Okay, so most leases are going to state that the tenant must allow access to a representative of the owner, of the property owner, within 24 to 48 hours of notice. So basically, again, most leases will say, hey, look, we can go in, we can, call the tenant, text the tenant, email the tenant, knock on the door, whatever it is, however we notify the tenant, and say, look, in 24 or 48 hours, whatever the lease says, we need to access the property. The initial walkthrough with the seller. Okay, so normally that's not an issue. Normally we can get in most apartments when the landlord is walking us through. Okay, now the photos and the video. I can't tell you how many times, because we send the pros out, we send a professional videographer out there, and the door is locked, no one's there, no one's answering. They have notice, you knock on the door, you go to walk in, and they say, get out. It happens sometimes. Pre-list inspections, we send an inspector in to do some pre-list home inspections, not allowed in the property. Showings, that's the worst, okay? Because when you have buyers looking at, a 2-3 unit property and they can't get into the units, I mean, they don't know what they're buying. So it creates uncertainty in that buyer, and they may skip along to another property. And that in itself could be worth tons of money to you, because if your tenants are not allowing showings and your property sits and sits and sits, and it sits longer than an average day on market, now consumers online are saying, hey, what's wrong with this property? And it's just going to cause you, the landlord, to lose money. Number 2, the tenants linger around the showings and lambaste sellers and property. I can't tell you how many times we hear this from tenants. Oh, the landlord never maintains the property. She is selling because it needs too much work. There's a tremendous number of things wrong. Let me show you. It's a nightmare when tenants do this. They take people through the property and they just do that. And I got to tell you, tenants, that does not help your situation out, because the buyer most of the time is savvy and they're looking past those very minor details you're showing them, and they're thinking how they're going to get rid of you as a tenant. They're thinking about how costly your eviction might be, because right off the rip you're being tough to deal with. So my suggestion would be, don't take that negative approach. It doesn't work. Okay, it really doesn't work, and it hurts everybody involved. Third thing, tenants stop paying rent. Okay, so when tenants are fearful and uncertain, okay, and maybe they weren't told that you're selling. Maybe they just wake up one morning and they have someone knocking on the door. Hey, let me show this property. When they're afraid of what's going to happen, they stop paying rent. They think they're going to have to save money. Some of these people are check to check. They have to save money and move out because they are uncertain. So they will stop paying rent. And sometimes, and times like this during COVID, there's things in place where you can't evict your tenants during that time period. I believe that ends in December, but still, think about that. Number 4, they leave the place a mess. I mean, let me tell you something. If tenants leave a place a mess, holes in the wall, trash everywhere, just a total mess, that could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So what can you do to stay on top of your tenants so that they're not doing that? Okay. And number 5, the tenant won't move out. So here's the problem with that. If you're selling a 1 to 4 unit property, multifamily, there are a massive chunk of buyers right now who have been priced out of single family homes, who are now moving towards multifamily homes for their first home, because they can use that rental income to pay for that house and live virtually almost free, if not free in some cases. However, they need to move into a unit. So if you have a tenant that is unwilling to move out of that unit, you can offer those hard to get along with tenants a bonus to get out. You can offer them 1 month or 2 months or whatever it is you need to do, and say, get out, because in the grand scheme of things, that month or 2 of rent is going to help them get into their next unit, and is going to avoid all of those issues, and is going to go ahead and procure that sale for you.